The SOS across the stars burned cold and distant above the wreckage of the alien fleet. Ships drifted in silence, broken apart by the last battle. Flames still licked at torn hulls. Metal twisted, bodies floated, and hope was gone. Commander. Rilar stood on the ruined bridge of his flagship, his chest aching with every breath. His people, the Valari, were finished. They had faced the Creth Empire, a predator race that swallowed systems whole, and they had lost. Now only a handful of damaged ships remained, hiding in the dark between stars. The crew whispered in despair. No supply lines. No allies near. No chance to fight back. Rilar clenched his fists. "Send a wideband SOS," he ordered. His voice cracked, but the order carried Dot an officer turned, eyes wide. "To who, Commander? No one dares to help us now." "Someone must," Rilar muttered. "Anyone." The SOS went out. A desperate cry across the galaxy. It carried data location, need for help, promise of reward. It did not matter who heard. They only hoped someone would. Hours passed, then days. No reply came. The crew grew weaker. Some ships went dark. Others simply drifted, life support failing. Rilar sat in his chair, feeling the weight of centuries of Valeri pride crumbling. His eyes closed. "Perhaps this is how we end," he whispered. Then dash static. Every screen flickered. A cold mechanical voice cut through the silence. Transmission received. Deployment initiated. The bridge froze. Crew members stared at one another, confused. "What was that?" An officer asked. The signal repeated, stronger this time. Transmission received. Deployment initiated. But the voice was not Valeri. It was not Creth. It was not any ally. Rilar's blood ran cold. He recognized the language. He had studied it in history files, though few dared to speak it aloud. It was Terran standard. The language of Earth. "Impossible," whispered the officer. "It comes. We sent the SOS into open space." He stopped breathing. His eyes went wide. "Commander, the Deathworlders heard us." The word fell like a curse over the crew. Deathworlders. Humans. No one in the galaxy forgot the old stories. Earth was a nightmare. Planet storms, volcanoes, predators, diseases. A place so violent that every species who learned of it agreed no one should live there. Yet somehow, humans had not only survived, they had spread. And when they fought like demons. The Valeri had not seen humans in generations. Most believed they had withdrawn, hiding their fleets. Some whispered they had gone extinct. Others claimed they waited in the shadows, only rising when the galaxy was foolish enough to disturb them. Now, Rilar understood the truth. His people had called for mercy, but mercy would not come. Judgment would. "Commander," the officer stammered, "we must cancel the signal. We must." "It's too late," Rilar said. His voice was hollow. "If humans heard us, they are already moving." The crew panicked. Some cried. Others prayed. One young ensign shook his head furiously. "No, maybe they will help us. Maybe." Rilar silenced him with a single look. "Do you know what help means to Deathworlders? Help means war. Help means fire. Help means the galaxy will tremble." He turned back to the dark window of space. Somewhere out there, in the black between stars, a human warship was already awakening, and the galaxy itself seemed to shudder. In a distant sector, far beyond Valeri space, alarms sounded deep within. A silent fortress orbiting Earth. Massive hangars opened. Old codes unlocked. Systems that had slept for centuries roared to life. The humans had answered. Not with words, not with comfort, but with a warship. On the Valeri bridge, the crew huddled. In silence, one officer whispered, "What have we done?" Rilar's eyes stayed locked on the stars. His heart sank as he whispered the only truth left. We have made a fatal mistake. Fear of Deathworlders wisps spread like fire through the broken fleet. The word had escaped every throat, every trembling lip, every fearful breath. Deathworlders. Valari crew did not dare speak the name too loudly. It was as if the very sound would summon them faster. But they knew it was already too late. The humans had heard. And when humans heard, they always came. Commander Relar gripped the edge of his command chair until his claws ached. His people had fought the Creth Empire for months. They had lost battles, fleets, entire colonies. But even the Creth were not as terrifying as the shadow of Earth. Sir? One of the junior officers whispered, her voice trembling. What will they do when they arrive? The bridge fell silent, every eye turning to the commander. Relar's throat tightened. He wanted to say they would be saved. He wanted to give them hope. But he was not a fool. Instead, he said the only truth that mattered. They will come with fire. In the galaxy, there were stories. Old stories. Warnings passed from race to race. Warnings about the Deathworlders. The Cairn once called them to battle, and 3 moons were broken before the Cairn begged for peace. The Zeth once raided their colonies, and within a year, the Zeth homeworld was glass. Even the mighty Zelkar Empire had tested them long ago. It no longer existed. No empire ever made the same mistake twice. Because once was enough. On the Valari bridge, officers muttered prayers. They don't fight wars like us, one said. They don't retreat. They don't surrender. They don't forget, another added. If they are coming, they will destroy the Creth and maybe us. 2. Relar closed his eyes. The truth was bitter, but it was real. Humans did not see the galaxy as friend or foe. They saw only survival. If something threatened their survival, or if someone begged for their help, humanity answered in only one way, with overwhelming force. And now that force was already moving far away. Deep in Earth's orbit, the ancient ship stirred. The Revenant, it had been sealed in the dark for centuries. Its black hole carried scars from wars older than most species in the galaxy. Its guns were larger than cities. Its engines could shatter the void itself. Now, systems flared alive. One by one, reactors hummed. Weapons aligned. Shields expanded. Crew pods opened, awakening soldiers who had been bred for only one purpose: to fight. The Revenant was never built for mercy. It was built for war. On the Valari bridge, panic spread. Commander, we cannot face them, the science officer said. If we remain here when they arrive, they may judge us guilty. Another officer snapped. Then what do you suggest? Run? Hide? They will track us. You cannot escape Deathworlders. Voices rose in fear and anger, but Relar silenced them with a roar. Enough! The bridge stilled. The commander's eyes burned as he looked at his crew. You think I do not know the stories? You think I do not fear what is coming? But we called them. We sent the signal. And now they will answer. Our fate is sealed. His words struck like knives. Some crew lowered their heads. Others wept quietly. In a distant listening post, another alien species intercepted the SOS reply. The Drevik monitors gasped when they recognized the Terran code. Fools, their leader spat. The Valeri have doomed us all. If the humans return, the balance of power will shatter. The galaxy will burn. Every species that heard the signal knew one thing. The humans had been silent for centuries. But now they were awake. Back on the broken flagship, Relar stood at the window, staring into the dark. He thought of his ancestors, proud warriors who built an empire across the stars. Now their descendants huddled in broken ships, whispering. Like children, one thought gnawed at him. What if the humans do not see us as victims? What if they see us as weak, Weakness, in Deathworld eyes, was worse than guilt. The bridge lights flickered. Another transmission came. The same cold voice echoed. Deployment initiated. Estimated arrival, 96 hours. A countdown. The crew shivered. 4 standard days until the humans arrived. 4 days until they saw the warship no one wanted to see again. Rilar's second-in-command leaned closer. "Sir, perhaps we can still send another message. To clarify. To tell them not to come." Rilar's gaze stayed on the stars. His voice was quiet, but every word carried iron. "No one tells Deathworlders what to do. Not you. Not me. Not the galaxy itself." Silence followed. The crew knew he was right. The humans were already coming. Nothing could stop them. And as the hours bled into days, fear spread beyond the Valari fleet. Across the stars, alien empires watched the countdown. With dread. Some prepared defenses. Some prepared sacrifices. But one truth echoed louder than all. Others, the Deathworlders, had been called, and they would answer. The warship awakens. The countdown ticked in every Valari ship, echoing through broken corridors like a death knell. 96 hours, then 90, then 70-2. Every alien who saw the transmission knew what it meant. Somewhere in the dark, a Terran warship was moving, but none of them understood the scale. Not yet. Far above Earth, in an orbit hidden from galactic eyes, a fortress drifted in silence. It was older than many empires. Its metal skin bore scars. Of wars so ancient they were nearly myth. Inside, alarms began to sound. Lights flashed down endless corridors. Sealed hangars groaned as locks disengaged. And deep in the heart of that fortress, a giant stirred. The ship was black as midnight, its hull covered in armored plates thicker than battleships. The markings on its side were faded with age, but one word could still be read by those who knew Terran script: Revenant. It had slept for centuries, entombed, waiting for a signal. And now the signal had come. Power surged through its veins. Reactors rumbled awake, shaking the fortress around them. Old systems flared with blue fire. The Revenant's engines ignited. They burned with a light so bright, nearby moons reflected it across their barren surfaces. In hidden control rooms, human officers walked to their stations. Their uniforms were simple, unmarked. Their eyes were hard, their faces calm. They had been trained for only one thing: war. Status? The captain asked, his voice sharp. "Systems online," replied his crew. "Weapons charged. Shield stable. All decks reporting ready?" The captain nodded. No ceremony. No celebration. Just purpose. Course locked. Destination. Valari coordinates. Prepare for deployment. And with a thunder that rippled through the void, the Revenant left its cradle. Across the galaxy, listening. Stations caught the shift. Massive energy spikes. Gravity waves bending across space. The Drevik monitors screamed. "It's moving. The Deathworld ship is moving." The Council of 12, an ancient coalition of alien powers, gathered in secret chambers. Holograms flickered as voices overlapped in panic. "This cannot be allowed," hissed the Zeth delegate. "If the humans deploy their ancient ship, balance will shatter. They will not stop at the crave," the Cairn shouted. "They will sweep across sectors. None of us are safe." But one elder voice, calm and weary, silenced them all. "You misunderstand," the elder said. "Humans do not march for conquest. They march because they were called. And once they march, nothing survives in their path." The chamber fell silent. Fear hung heavy. On the broken Valari flagship, the crew monitored the countdown. 72 hours. 60, 50. Every tick tightened their chests. "They're coming," whispered the ensign. His hands shook on the console. "They're really coming." Commander Relar said nothing. His eyes stayed locked on the starfield. He had seen many things in his life: victory, loss, despair. But this was something else. When the Creth came, the Valeri had fought. When the Drevik demanded tribute, they had resisted. But humans? You did not fight Deathworlders. You endured them. If they let you dot in the shadow of a red dwarf star, the Creth warlords gathered their armada. Black, jagged ships filled the system, preparing for the final strike against the Valeri survivors. Their leader, High Warlord Zathrak, sneered as he read the intercepted signal. Deathworlders? He growled. Old myths, old fear. Nothing more. A general bowed. But my lord, the legends. Legends do not destroy empires, Zathrak roared. Ships do. Weapons do. And we have both. He raised a clawed fist. If the humans come, we will crush them as we crushed the Valeri. But even he could not shake the unease in his stomach. Because somewhere, deep inside, he knew the old stories carried truth. And then the galaxy saw it. The Revenant emerged. From a slipstream gate, its vast hull stretching like a shadow across the stars. Valeri survivors gasped. Their damaged ships looked like toys compared to it. The Creth scouts watching froze in terror, their sensors screaming warnings. The ship blotted out suns. Its hull was blacker than the void. Its engines burned like captured stars. And on its side, written in letters the galaxy had hoped never to. See again was one word. REVENANT. On the Valeri bridge, silence fell. One officer trembled, whispering, "It's real. The stories were true." Commander Relar gripped his chair, his heart hammering. He had prayed for rescue. Now, seeing the warship, he wasn't sure if he had called salvation or damnation, because when the Revenant came, history showed only one truth. Something, whether enemy or ally, was always destroyed. And as the ship turned its weapons toward the battlefield, Relar understood the full weight of his words. The SOS had been answered, but not by mercy, not by judgment. First contact with survivors. The shadow of the Revenant covered the stars like an eclipse. On the Valeri flagship, every light dimmed as the human warship locked a tractor field across the broken flotilla. Panels flickered. Gravity trembled. No one spoke. They only listened to their own hearts beating too loud. A tone cut the air sharp, cold, final. "Open channel," Commander Relar said. His voice was steady, but his hands were not. The main screen brightened. At first there was only a black field with a single white emblem, a circle with 3 lines crossing it, the mark of Earth Command. Then a face appeared. It was a human captain, middle-aged, calm eyes. No medals on his uniform, no gold edges, no bright colors. Only gray. Only purpose. "This is Captain Arlen of the Terran warship Revenant," he said. His tone was even, like stone. "We received your SOS. Identify." Relar swallowed. "I am Commander Relar of the Valeri. We called for aid." "Reason for distress," Arlen said. Relar's mouth went dry. He told the truth. "We were attacked by the Creth Empire. Our fleets were destroyed. Our people are dying." The human captain did not blink. "Transmitting boarding protocols. Your weapons will be safetied. Your shields will remain down. Any lock on our ship will be treated as hostile intent." He paused, then added, "Comply." On the Valeri bridge, fear cracked into the open. "Commander, if we let them board. If we refuse, they will destroy us," someone else whispered. Relar closed his eyes for a single breath. Then he answered, "We will comply." "Copy," Captain Arlen said. The screen went dark. For a long second, nothing happened. Then the Revenant moved. It was a slow, terrible motion, like a continent turning. Massive bays along the warship's belly opened. Pale light spilled out. A swarm of smaller shapes dropped free, silent and exact, like blades falling point first. Boarding. Craft. They came in tight formation, cutting through the debris field without touching a single spinning plate or broken spine. Each craft matched speed with a Valari hull, locked to an airlock, and sealed with a hiss that everyone felt in their teeth. Marines inbound, the sensors officer whispered. Deck 7. Deck 3, main spine. Rilar stood. All hands hold position. No weapons, no sudden moves. The inner hatch cycled. Steam rolled across the floor. Boots thudded heavy, measured, perfectly timed. Human Marines stepped in. Their armor was smooth and dark, with no shine. Helmets hid their faces behind clear visors that reflected the bridge lights. Their weapons were short and blunt, nothing like the long rifles the Valari used. These were tools for close war. For rooms like this, the lead Marine took one step forward and stopped exactly where he wanted to stop. Security sweep, he said. His voice came through a speaker, level and empty. Stand by. 4 Marines moved with machine speed, checking corners, hatches, the ceiling, the floor seams, even the dead consoles. They did not point weapons at anyone. They also did not look away from anything. When they finished, the lead Marine touched his wrist. Bridge secure. A second later, the main screen flashed again. Captain Arlen returned now as a live feed. From the human side, looking straight into the Valari bridge. Commander Rilar, Arlen said, who authorized this SOS? I did, Rilar said. He stood up straighter. I accept responsibility. Did you intend to draw Terran military into a conflict with the Creth Empire? Rilar opened his mouth and then closed it. The true answer was simple. He had not cared who came, as long as someone came. But the truth could kill. He chose fewer words. We intended to survive. For the first time, a tiny change touched the human captain's face. Not a smile. Not a frown. Just a slight shift, as if a stone had turned in a river. Understood, he said. Transmit all combat logs, sensor records, and chain of command agreements. Medical status of your ships as well. We will verify. Rilar nodded too. His officers. Data flew across the link-wrecked ship lists, casualty counts, weapon signatures, timestamps. The logs painted a single, hard picture. The Creth had hit them without warning, struck their command nodes first, then chased survivors into deep space. The human Marines said nothing while the files moved. They stood like statues, eyes cold, armor humming softly, breath a steady rhythm. One of them noticed a Valari ensign shaking. The Marine shifted, not closer, but into her line of sight. He lowered the muzzle of his weapon by 1 finger width. It was a small thing. It felt like a mountain moving. Data received, Captain? Arlen said at last. His eyes moved left and right, reading what his system summarized faster than a Valari team could in an hour. Your enemy used suppression lances, thermal flails, and drone swarms with Forbidden's tags. Confirm? Confirmed. Rilar said. Noted, Arlen replied. He looked up again. You requested aid. Aid has arrived. Aid requires compliance. Rilar braced. Define compliance. You will follow Terran engagement control while we are present, the captain said. You will not fire without our authority. You will not jump without our order. You will shut down all active targeting systems. If the Creth arrive, we will handle the fight. Murmurs rolled across the bridge fear, and relief mixing like heat and cold. Rilar nodded slowly. We agree. Good, Arlen said. Medical. Teams are en route. We will stabilize your injured. We will also detach your unexploded ordnance, vent loose fuel, and seal hull fractures. Do not interfere, Rilar blinked. He had not expected mercy to come with the steel. You will help us? Your SOS triggered a Terran response, Arlen said. Terran response includes triage. He paused one heartbeat. It also includes judgment. The word hung in the air like a blade. Judgment of whom? Rilar asked softly. Of those who break the rules of war, Arlen said. We will confirm the Creth violations in your logs. Then we will act. A sharp tone cut through the bridge. The Valari sensor officer flinched, then stared at his panel. His gills flared wide. Commander new contacts. Every head turned. Show me. Rilar said. The screen split. On the right side, the human. Captain stayed calm and still. On the left, space unfolded in a rippling bruise of light. Dark shapes slid out of the tier and formed a hunting line. Creth warships. Count? Rilar asked, though his voice already knew fear. 27. The sensor officer said. His hands shook. Heavy cruisers and lance frigates. They are locking on us. The human marines did not move. They did not tense. They were already ready. Captain Arlen did not raise his voice. Commander Rilar, maintain compliance. Keep your ships cold. Rilar swallowed, and not a dot. The human captain turned his head an inch. Weapons, he said to someone off-screen. A woman's voice answered from the Revenant's fire deck. Solutions plotted. Lances hot, rail batteries spun. Drone wings primed. Do not fire yet, Arlen said. He looked back at Rilar. This is your last decision today, Commander. He leaned closer, and for the first time his eyes were not stone, they were fire held in a jar. Do your people stand behind your SOS? Rilar felt every gaze on him. His crew, his dead, his ancestors. He thought of the Creth burning their colonies, of children hiding under cracked bulkheads, of stars that went dark and stayed dark. He lifted his head. We stand. Copy. Captain Arlen said. The link cut. The screen on the left widened until it filled the bridge, the Creth line closing, weapon lights glimmering like cold teeth. On the Valari deck, someone whispered a prayer. On the Revenant, lights dimmed, then sharpened to a hard, white edge. The human marines lowered their visors. Contact, said a calm voice over both fleets. Terran standard carried on an open channel, clear and merciless. Stand by for Terran engagement. The Creth fired first dot, and the stars turned bright. The enemy returns. The void erupted in fire. Creth lances tore across the darkness, stabbing the Valari survivors with beams of white heat. Shields already failing flared one last time, then collapsed. Hulls cracked open, spilling air and light. Valari voices screamed over the comms, begging for cover. Commander Rilar gripped his chair, his chest frozen. He had faced Creth attacks before, but never this close, never this hopeless. His fleet could not even raise defenses. They were ordered cold, their targeting shut, their engines low. They were sitting corpses waiting for the knife. But across the Black Gulf, the Revenant moved, not fast, not desperate, just steady, like a predator too sure of its kill. Lock confirmed, the Valari sensor officer cried. The Creth are targeting us, Commander. Rilar looked to the humans on his deck. The Marines stood still, not a twitch, not a word. Their visors reflected the flashing light of Creth weapons. They waited like statues carved from fear itself. Then, the Terran channel cracked open. Captain Arlen's voice filled the bridge, quiet but sharp enough to cut steel. Hold position. Rilar's crew gasped. We'll be slaughtered. One shouted, but the humans did not argue. They simply obeyed. Their own captain. And for the first time, Rilar wondered if obedience was the secret to their strength, never breaking, even when death was close enough to taste. On the Revenant, the fire deck came alive. Rail batteries at 100%. Drone wings in launch sequence. Plasma lances charged. Target packages sorted. Time to impact? Arlen asked. 7 seconds, his weapons officer replied. 7 seconds. The time between life and legend. The Creth beams. Hit. Valari ships exploded like dry leaves in a firestorm. One cruiser snapped in half, spilling crew into the void. Another simply vanished, its core detonating in a white flare. Rilar's own flagship shuddered under a grazing strike. Alarms screaming, panels cracking. The crew braced for the final blow, but it never came, because in that same moment, the Revenant answered that the first volley was railguns. Slugs the size of shuttles ripped through the dark, invisible until they hit. When they did, Creth hulls bent, then shattered. One cruiser folded in two. Another bloomed into fragments, silent screams echoing across open channels. Before the debris even cooled, the second volley came plasma lances. They struck like spears of liquid sun, tearing through shields as if they were mist. 3 more Creth ships fell in fire, gutted from prow to stern. Then came the drones. Dozens of black wings dropped from the Revenant's belly, engines whispering, weapons glowing faint blue. They swarmed, each one moving with the precision of thought. They wove between Creth beams, slicing into weak points, drilling holes, planting charges. Ships exploded one after another, as if touched by invisible fireflies. In less than a minute, half the Creth line was gone. On the Valari bridge, the crew watched in stunned silence. One ensign whispered, voice shaking. They are destroying them like they are nothing. Another officer trembled. This isn't war. This is judgment. Rilar said nothing. His throat was too tight, his chest too heavy. He had seen battles, yes. He had seen fleets die, but never like this. Never so fast. Never so final. The Creth tried to scatter. Panic spread through their ships. Their warlord, Zathrek, roared across. His command net, demanding they reform, that they press the attack. But even he felt the cold shadow of truth. The old stories had been true. Deathworlders were not soldiers. They were storms. And once the storm came, no wall, no empire, no courage could stop it. Back on the Revenant, Captain Arlen gave no speech. He issued no threats. He simply spoke the next order. Clean the field. His officers obeyed. The rail batteries roared again. Plasma storms followed. Drones sliced through stragglers, like hunters through a flock. The Creth line collapsed. 27 ships had entered the system. Now fewer than 5 limped away, engines burning, hulls bleeding. The Revenant turned, and its great guns followed them. Targets fleeing, the weapons officer said. Arlen's eyes narrowed. Pursue. The great warship advanced, cutting through the dark with engines that shook the void itself. On the Valari bridge, every survivor felt it in their bones. The humans were not fighting for them. They were not fighting with them. They were simply fighting. Rilar whispered the truth, so quiet only his own heart heard it. We did not call saviors. We called predators. The Creth flagship tried one last desperate strike. It turned, charging its main lance, power surging. Its captain screamed for glory, for empire, for revenge. But before the weapon fired, a single rail slug punched through. Its core. The Creth ship vanished in silence, torn apart like dust. When the last Creth ship burned, the Revenant finally stopped. The great guns fell quiet. The drone wings returned. The void went still. Then Captain Arlen's voice filled the Valari channels. Engagement complete. Enemy destroyed. A pause. Then the words that made every Valari soul tremble. Now we will discuss your judgment. Fire and fury. The battlefield was silent. Creth wrecks floated like bones in a graveyard, burning softly in the void. The Valari survivors drifted weak and broken, their hulls leaking air. For a moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Then Captain Arlen gave the order, "Show them why they fear us." The Revenant moved, not like other ships, with stuttering engines and broken jumps. It glided forward, steady and merciless, as if the stars themselves bent aside. Its black hull swallowed the light. Its engines burned with white fire. "Target map," the weapons officer said. On Arlen's screen, hundreds of red icons flashed Creth survivors, hidden drones, relay buoys, fuel barges, even the wrecks that might carry salvageable tech. The ship's AI outlined them all in neat circles, like prey marked for slaughter. "Fire at will," Arlen commanded. The first barrage came with a thunder the Valari crew could feel in their bones, even from kilometers away. Rail slugs tore through space faster than light could reflect. Creth wrecks shattered to dust. Fleeing frigates split like eggshells. Then came the plasma storm. Dozens of lances fired in perfect sequence, weaving lines of molten fire that crossed the void. The Creth who had thought they escaped were erased, their ships dissolving into glowing gas. And then the Revenant's drones swarmed again. But this time, they did not just pierce. They carved. They sliced ships into fragments, precise as knives in a surgeon's hand. They planted charges inside drifting hulks and detonated them in timed rhythm, turning the battlefield into a symphony of fire. The Valari survivors watched in horror and awe. "This is not war," one officer whispered. "This is execution." Relar stood frozen. His crew looked to him for guidance, but his mouth was dry. He had called for help. He had called this. "Commander," the ensign whispered, "they are killing everything, not just the enemy. Everything." He was right. The Revenant did not leave salvage. It did not leave witnesses. It erased the Creth so completely that even ghosts would have nothing to haunt. Relar's stomach twisted. He finally understood the old stories. They had not been exaggerations. They had been warnings. The Creth High warlord, Zathrak, still lived on a crippled carrier. He howled across the comms, voice breaking with rage. "Deathworlders, we are not afraid of you." But his voice trembled. His ship's engines failed. His weapons refused to lock. He was shouting into the storm, trying to curse the tide as it rose to drown him. The Revenant answered without words. A single lance beam sliced his carrier in two. Zathrak's last scream cut short as fire swallowed him. The Valari fleet sat in silence. They had begged for survival, and survival had come but wrapped in steel and fury. Some crew wept in relief. Others wept in terror. One whispered, "If this is their mercy, what is their wrath?" Relar said nothing. His mind spun with fear, guilt, and awe. He could not look away. He could not stop watching the Revenant burn the Creth from existence. Inside the Terran warship, the crew moved like one machine. Calm voices called out data. Calm hands pressed controls. No one cheered. No one smiled. This was not victory. It was duty. "Final target locked," the weapons officer said. "Proceed," Arlen replied. The last Creth cruiser fled toward a gas giant, engine screaming. It thought the planet's magnetic storms would hide it. The Revenant fired one slug. Slug punched through the storm, through the gas, through the cruiser, and out the other side. The planet's rings shuddered as fragments of the ship burned in its atmosphere. "Target destroyed," the officer confirmed. "Stand down weapons," Arlen said. The great guns fell silent. The drone wings returned. The storm passed, only silence remained. On the Valari flagship, the crew still stared at their screens. The battlefield was empty now. No enemy, no threat. Only the black hull of the Revenant, drifting with calm power, its engines pulsing like a heartbeat. Relar finally found his voice. "They They ended an empire in less than an hour. His officers whispered prayers to gods long forgotten. One simply fell to his knees, whispering, "We are alive, but at what cost?" The human Marines on the bridge did not flinch. Their visors glowed. Faint with readouts, their rifles low but ready. One finally spoke, voice cold through the speaker. Engagement complete. Judgment rendered. The words fell like chains across the Valari hearts. And then the human captain returned to the screen. His eyes were still calm, his voice still even. "Commander Rilar," he said, "your SOS has been answered. Your enemy has been erased. Now, the question remains, what is the value of your survival?" Rilar froze. He realized the battle was over, but their judgment had only begun. The fatal mistake, the battlefield lay in ruins. Creth ships no longer drifted. They were gone erased. Only fragments spun in the dark, glowing as they fell into dying stars. The system that had been a war zone only an hour ago was now silent, claimed by the shadow of one ship. The REVENANT. It did not shine. It did not celebrate. It only waited, its black hole reflecting the broken light of burning wreckage. On the Valari flagship, silence pressed on every throat. The crew stared at their screens, their minds torn between relief and dread. They had survived, yes, but survival felt like a cage with bars they could not see. Then the main screen flickered. The human captain returned. Captain Arlen. His face was carved stone, his voice calm as ever. "Commander Rilar," he said, "your people have been spared. The Creth had been judged." He paused. The silence stretched like a blade. "Now we must judge you." Gasps rippled across the bridge. Some officers trembled. Others lowered their heads, as if awaiting execution. Rilar forced his voice to remain steady. We called for help, and you came. Surely that earns." Arlen cut him off. "Your SOS drew Terran war power into this sector. You risked destabilizing the balance of the galaxy. You risked exposing your people to judgment. Do you understand what that means?" Rilar swallowed. "It means we live only because you allow it." The human captain's eyes did not blink. Correct. The words hit the crew like cold fire. One young officer whispered, "They will kill us." Another shook his head. "No, worse. They will own us." Rilar felt both could be true. He had studied the stories. Humanity never conquered worlds for treasure or slaves. They conquered to end threats. And when they ended threats, nothing rose again. Captain Arlen continued, his tone unchanged. "We have reviewed your records. The Valari did not strike first. The Creth broke rules of war. That is why they no longer exist. You remain because your SOS showed desperation, not aggression." Rilar let out a slow breath. A spark of hope flickered in his chest, but the human was not finished. "You will not waste this mercy," Arlen said. "From this moment, the Valari are bound by Terran law of conflict. You will not deploy suppression lances. You will not strike civilian targets. You will not summon fleets without consent. You will report all future hostilities directly to Earth Command." His words landed like chains. The Valari survivors had no power left, no fleet, no choice. Rilar bowed his head. "We will obey." Arlen studied him for a long second. Then he gave a single nod. "Then you will live." The connection cut. Screen went dark. On the Valari bridge, no one moved for several heartbeats. Then the ensign whispered, voice shaking, "We are saved?" Another officer muttered, "No, we are owned." Rilar closed his eyes. He thought of the Creth, burning in silence. He thought of his ancestors, proud and free. And he thought of his own hand, sending that cursed SOS. On the Revenant, the crew did not discuss victory. They logged kills, counted. Munitions, restored systems, calm, efficient, as if erasing an empire was a day's work. Captain Arlen stood alone in the command deck, his gaze locked on the stars. His XO approached. "Sir," she asked, "what of the Valeri?" "They will obey," Arlen said. His tone did not change. "Or they will vanish." The Revenant turned, its engines glowing like caged suns. Slowly, it moved away from the Valeri fleet, slipping back into the void. No words of comfort, no promises of friendship, only silence and shadow. The Valeri survivors watched it go, trembling with a truth none could deny. They had called the humans. And the humans had answered, not with mercy, not with kindness, but with fire. Commander Ilar stood on his bridge, his shoulders heavy, his heart broken. He whispered words that would echo through Valeri history, words his people would never forget. SOS was the last mistake we will ever make. We did not call saviors, we called judgment. And across the galaxy, as whispers spread, one lesson burned brighter than all others. Never send an SOS to Deathworlders. Because when they come, they do. Not come to rescue, they come to end.